And so with us, we have Dan Kornick. Dan is the CIO for Loews Hotels and Resorts. We have Scott Strickland. Scott is the CIO for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. We've got Lawson Kelly, who is the CTO for Hyatt Hotels Corporation. And we actually have Samir Desai, and Samir is the CTO for Equinox. Now, some may think, why is Equinox on this panel when it's about the guest experience? But in reality, Equinox also has a hotel. So I think it'll be interesting to actually talk through some of that. And I think maybe we can do a round of introductions just to maybe introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what's going on within your respective organization. And I think even within there, maybe a little bit more like what is the innovation that you're working on right now in your particular hotel group? Actually, Samir, I'll start with you since I think even having a hotel while being a gym or a fitness and wellness corporation, that might be innovative in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. So just a little bit about myself. Samir Desai, I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Equinox. Equinox, for those of you who are not familiar, is a chain of fitness clubs. We have Equinox Fitness Clubs. SoulCycle is another a chain and brand that we own under the portfolio. Blink Fitness. And then we opened our first hotel last summer in Hudson Yards. And that hotel has been designed as a 4.5, 5-star experience, trying to blend together fitness, lifestyle, and travel. And you know, as everybody else, you know, less than a year under opening, you know, we're now forced to kind of dial that back a little bit and rethink how we operate. And what we've been really kind of pushed to do is think through how we pivot our business model to be, which is largely brick and mortar, to now start extending our service digitally. So on the fitness club side, we quickly stood up a virtual personal training business where we can connect our personal trainers to people at home and start training them via a Zoom or FaceTime-like platform. We had just launched a platform called Varus, which is effectively a digital content streaming platform, along with the at-home SoulCycle bike. So you have the ability now to buy a bike at home and stream SoulCycle classes. It's very similar to what Peloton has done and built. And so those are some of the strategies that we're using to engage our members and customers digitally while at home. And then, you know, I'll talk more about it, but obviously engaging our employees has also been very important to us and making sure that, you know, we're a very people-centric business. So how do we keep them engaged while they're not fully at work, so that when we reopen, we can re-engage with them. But that's just a little bit about us and where we're at. Perfect. Lawson?
Good afternoon. I'm Lawson Kelly. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Hyatt. I would say that obviously the COVID-19 situation has had a lot of impacts on the hospitality industry. But even before that, we were still very much focused on digital transformation investment, particularly in our guest-facing touch points, whether that was our mobile app, our loyalty program, our website. And even with the outbreak, we've continued to invest in those areas because what we do see is that travel is not gone to zero. People are still traveling for leisure. They just tend to be focusing more on traveling within, say, a drivable distance as opposed to an international plane flight type distance. And they're actually looking to the hotel brands for more engagement from those investments in digital, particularly how can I do more with my mobile phone? How can I do more with my hotel's app on that phone to facilitate an environment if I'm staying at a hotel that feels safe and secure, online ordering, cleanliness, door locks, et cetera. So we continue to see an acceleration in those kinds of evolutions and investments that we were doing before the COVID hit, and they are continuing.
Please. Great. Scott?
Hey, AJ, good to see you. Good to see my fellow panelists as well. Very similar to what Hyatt was seeing, we know that travel's not going away. And actually during the depths in March and April, our type of guest, to borrow a term you used earlier, AJ, was pressing on. Our type of guest was this guest who was a first responder, medical personnel, or crew that was traveling across the country. And the drive-through, drive-to hotels, that's our market. You know, Wyndham Hotels and Resorts is 9,000 hotels, 6,000 of them in the economy space with Days Inn and La Quinta and Super 8. So if you're driving across the country to repair a line, or if you're a first responder that needs to crash for the night, that was where we were at. So to build a little bit on what Lawson was saying, at that point, we doubled down on our contactless technology. And we really looked at, okay, how do we enable mobile check-in? How do we enable the door locks? And then how do we take it one step further and enable that mobile payment? And you can only do so if you have common platforms across every one of those so that people can come in and mobile pay. So we've really put a lot of focus on those guest touch points.
That makes sense. Dan?
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Dan Kornick, and I'm the CIO at Loews Hotels based here in New York City. Thanks for having me on the panel today. For those of you who aren't aware, Loews is an upper upscale brand here in North America. We have 28 properties, and we're a little different as we're the owner and operator of these hotels. We manage the brand, we manage our properties directly, and we also have an ownership stake in each of those. So I think, as Scott alluded to in Lawson, despite the current challenges, I think we're all continuing on that roadmap of the things that we have to do and actually accelerating some of those. So in the last 2 years, we've been focused on the foundation. Let's get everything right so that we can then grow in these type of times. So what we've done in the last 2 years is we've migrated all of our applications and all of our technology to the cloud. So we're 100% cloud-based. We've put in a new CRM system, new connectivity platform. So we've got a single source of the truth of our customers and our guest communications. This way we can leverage that for preferences and providing a differentiated service, which is really expected at a higher level brand. You know, we've invested in cybersecurity heavily because that's part of that digital foundation, big key. We've also invested heavily in business intelligence and data visualization to allow our senior executives to make decisions, not just look at the data. And I think that's been great. You know, Scott alluded to mobile payments. We've implemented that at all of our different systems and all outlets across the company. And we're now leveraging AI and machine learning in such areas as revenue management. So that's been the foundation. So to get that correct, I think it's going to allow us to go from a defensive posture, which a lot of IT shops are in, into an offense. And right now from an offense, it's that contactless strategy. How can I do total mobile check-in, check-out, digital key? So it's upgrading all of our locks. It's putting in those technologies, as well as mobile food and beverage, so that I can order, pay, and do everything in a contactless situation from the pool, from the room, or in our grab and goes or our restaurants.
So I like this concept of offense versus defense, and I think what's really interesting and maybe really concerning or difficult to deal with is the challenge of how do you actually stay on offense when you're being asked to do more with less. I can't imagine that, you know, in board conversations across all of you, that somebody's coming back and saying, hey, go spend more money, go replace everything, go, you know, do a bunch of stuff. How are you doing more with less? What's the impact, and what are the strategies, tips, tricks as you have those conversations to be able to actually drive innovation in a time of I'll call it, you know, down economy effectively? Scott, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. So certainly we're on the sharp end of that spear in hospitality. So we were dramatically impacted in March and April, and it's public. We cut our capital budget and we cut our discretionary spend by about half. So how do you continue to innovate and drive forward in that case? What you do is you reprioritize. We took a look at our project portfolio, and let's say we originally had 30 plus projects. We said, no, we're going to drive forward with 10. But those 10 projects are going to be the ones that are absolutely critical. We also switched out some of the projects. We pulled forward some contactless investment. We pulled forward some investment that we hadn't planned on making on cleaning attributes. Basically being able to attribute by hotel. Whereas in the past, do they have shuttle service? You can say, do they have electrostatic sprayers? And starting to be able to differentiate based on the fact that, okay, we are a clean brand and you can count on us to be clean. So we made a mixed change of projects. We reprioritized those projects. And then perhaps most importantly, we communicated to all of our stakeholders that we made these changes. Because the worst thing that can happen is they still think that one of their pet projects was going to be delivered. So I had to say, pause, here's why we did it, and everybody understands because they understand we're in a crisis.
Sure, that makes sense. And I got to imagine reprioritization is the name of the game for everyone. But Samir, you know, you're kind of still in a situation where a lot of gyms, or I assume most gyms, it seems like probably are still kind of closed. You know, I imagine there's a lot of questions about how to go back, how to enable people to be able to work out in a safe environment, similar to probably the things going on at the hotel level. But that guest experience will fundamentally change. I'm assuming you're having board level conversations that are the, you know, do more with less moment. What are those kind of practical applications of things that you're working on to drive that more with less execution?
Yeah, so definitely reprioritization. I think that goes probably across the board. I think the other thing that I've observed is that this crisis has really brought our leadership team together in a really unique way. And I think we are, as a team, I think connecting and operating and working together in a much more efficient, much more kind of trustworthy manner than we were before. It used to be Monday mornings, there's a leadership meeting, everybody comes together for an hour, hour and a half, and then everybody else is on their way, they're traveling, they're here, they're there. Now we have a daily morning meeting where everybody is present, and you're seeing and interacting with the leadership team. And the leadership team is collaborating and operating much more effectively than we were before. So I think that's one. Two, I'd say the crisis, I think, has also brought is stretching people, and the kind of top talent is shining and they're performing, and you can see who are the A players that are coming up, and those that are not are not. But I think as we're giving stretch assignments to people who are high potential, they're responding and they're showing up, and we're getting more from those people. And look, I don't think this is a sustainable thing all year round, but over the last couple of months, I think we can all agree that we've probably worked more hours than we typically do, given the lines of home and work have blurred, entirely. So I think that's inevitably yielding a little bit more productivity, for better or for worse as well. So I'd say those are some of the things beyond prioritization for us that I've seen.
Yeah, and I long for the time that I can actually take a real vacation to go travel somewhere, and I think it's coming. I think we're almost there, so I'm hopeful to stay in all of your hotels at some point soon. But Dan, I guess with you, is that more for, or doing more with less conversation at the forefront as you're replacing things, as you're driving contactless, as you're investing in mobile app and all of these other kind of innovative aspects? What has been the board conversation, and is there, are they saying, look, this is a time, double down, we'll give you more money to go do technology, or is it, look, guys, we have to pull back?
I would say the conversation is not about technology. I think we as a business, we took a step back. Let's reevaluate how we operate as a business. What are, almost to Lawson Scott said, let's take a step back, reevaluate. What's important? What is that priority? So it's not about technology per se, but it is cut back, look at every single cost, look at every single piece of staffing that we have, make sure that we are at the right level given our business right now, which has dramatically dropped off, right? So you reevaluate that, you focus on what's important, and if what's important needs technology, then that's going to get the funding and the focus. So it's really not been a technology conversation, but the funding and focus has now said contactless is critical. So Dan, we're accelerating it. Here it is. Go make it happen in the next 90 days.
And Lawson, is that the same philosophy that you're seeing, or has the process of budgeting just, changed entirely? Is it, freeze and hold and wait and see and figure it out, or reprioritize, only do these two things? What's been working for you? And as you kind of look at the challenges you have ahead, how are you doing that more with less?
So I'd have to reiterate what a lot of the other panelists have said. There are always a lot of projects that are on the list of things that you want to do in a particular year. And in some cases, there are a lot of high priority items, but there are still those top 4 or 5. And it's not that you're not going to invest in those others, but it is very clear in this kind of environment, the ones that you're going to move forward with regardless. And those are those areas of guest engagement, digital transformation. It's delay. It's not necessarily cancel. It's just delay, and make sure that you're still making progress on those really strategic initiatives that drive guest engagement, that drive guest comfort and confidence to come to the hotel. Also, I think you have to factor in that, we're a global brand, and thus the reaction of the public in different regions. Yes, I mean, for instance, people in China are traveling at a much higher rate and with a lot more comfort level than they are in the United States. And I think Europe is somewhere in the middle. So you're having different reactions. But what is common is that you're reaching out, you're being very transparent with your guests and your loyalty members in particular about what are you doing to respond to their needs? How are you making it easier for them to engage with them? How are you being more flexible? And as they said, some of those solutions are technological. Some of them are communicative. Reaching out to your loyalty members and saying, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing with our cancellation and retention, point retention policies, our membership benefits, given that you may not be traveling as much, and being transparent about that business communication often is having a lot of dividends, not just what are you doing to cut costs or what are you. you're still investing.
I think there's a good aspect and a balance, and there's a danger of the over communication. I'm not sure why I get so many emails that are saying, in these unprecedented times about, this and that and the other, where it's like, did I really need that update from my car dealer? Like, probably not. Or, did I really need that from some random company that I talked to literally 15 years ago that sold me a wallet? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's not really valuable. But I think in the context of especially loyalty members, I've certainly appreciated that excess communication saying, look, we're just going to be reasonable and we're going to be accountable. And I think that's important. And so I guess, as we think of the guest experience, obviously the guest experience is more than just the time you stay at the hotel. So what are kind of the technological aspects, I think, and I'll stay with you, Lawson, as you look at, into the future, what is the expectation of technology from a guest perspective when you're not at the hotel, and how does that marry back to actually being at the hotel?
So I think you see a lot of the hospitality and travel brands following the successes that they've seen in other more sophisticated areas like retail, where their ability to target their customer, know more about their customer, make suggestions about upsell, other opportunities, whether they're wellness or their fitness or spa, or other things to do around the hotel visit. And having that analytics and investing in that. And that expectation is being driven by that same consumer expectation that they've gained by interacting with Amazon or one of these other companies. Now, the key difference is to make sure that you do that in a way that you are protecting their privacy and and that they perceive that you're still being mindful because they're of them as an individual and their privacy concerns. Because when you are staying at someone else's at a hotel, it's not the same as being at your home shopping for something. Your expectations of privacy, your concerns about your personal space are different if you're on an airplane or in a hotel room, and thus you want to be collecting some data about your guests and using that to their benefit, advertising to them, so making suggestions, but not doing that in a way that makes them uncomfortable. Sometimes I do like to shop on Amazon, and sometimes their suggestions are a little bit too scarily accurate, and there's a balance on that. But what that does mean is that we are following that similar kind of data analytics investment that you've seen other industries invest in probably 5 or more years ago. That kind of investment level is now coming to the hospitality area.
Yeah, that makes sense. Samir, I've always wondered, is the hotel an expression of basically wanting to broaden the wellness story, or is it just a new way to engage in a brand new kind of, innovation area, or why the hotel? I guess that's really the question, right? If you're Equinox, you've got all these gyms, you've got this health and wellness, and to Lawson's point, obviously we all like to go to the spa every now and then, but like, why the hotel? What was the idea? Where did it come from?
Yeah, no, it's really rooted in the kind of thesis that when you travel, you typically forego healthy eating habits and you forego healthy workout habits, right? So it's easy to make an excuse and say, I'm not going to work out. I'm going to go for a steak dinner and not eat what I would normally eat when I'm on my routine at home. So what we wanted to do was create a space where the nutrition element was programmed in a way where we're really catering to a healthier palate. And then from a movement and fitness standpoint, you have access to the world's best fitness facility out there, a 60,000 square foot Equinox is part of your hotel stay, right? So that's, transformatively different than any other hotel gym that you'll see. And then as part of that stay, you get access to personal training, classes, a spa. Spa is not where we're not, it's not more of it's less of an indulgence play, more of a performance. And we're catering to, the corporate traveler as well. So in the Hudson Yards where we've opened, there's a lot, 50% of the stays are corporate. So that's really been the thesis. We've got 5 other hotels under construction, and we're not going to be 1,000 hotels. It's very much a boutique play, probably 60, 70 hotels over a 10-year period. But it's integrating that kind of fitness lifestyle while you're traveling, and not having to forego those things.
I think we're getting interesting data these days on that thesis of when you're traveling, you're not as healthy, because it seems like now that I'm not traveling, I might be less healthy. I think just generally the lesson learned is we're all finding excuses not to be healthy. So let's remove the excuses, right? Scott, obviously, COVID has had a market impact on all of the stuff happening in hospitality. As you look 5 years from now and you look at the guest experience, What is the expectation? What do you think technology will actually do to enable? What are you building as the path? Is it more automation and AI and data? Is it more about robo-maids cleaning rooms so that less human interaction? What's that next iterative thing that's 5-10 years out?
Sure. As we look at this, AJ, we're looking at the entire customer journey. As Lawson pointed to a little bit earlier, and collecting data across that entire journey. So that's from the time you research to the time you stay at the hotel, post-hotel stay, and then you're going to come back and repeat the cycle. So we looked at that entire cycle. And if you go 5 years out, it's very similar to other industries in terms of its consumerization of IT. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have expected to have Wi-Fi at a hotel. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have expected to have Netflix at a hotel. A year ago, you wouldn't have expected to be able to set the thermostat. Okay, so let's look ahead and say, what is happening in the consumer space right now? And it all comes down to personal preference. It comes down to, I am checking in. I want the thermostat to be at this level. I want these channels to be on the TV. I want Grubhub to be delivering my pizza. So what we're doing is we're looking to the consumer packaged goods area. We're looking to the way people consume retail and saying those trends are going to be expected within IT, within hospitality IT very quickly.
I think that makes sense. Dan, do you feel like the expectations from your guests are changing? Obviously, the expectation given COVID means now they expect an extraordinarily clean room. How do you enforce those types of things? How do you give that comfort back to the actual guest? What are the things as you look at both now and 5 years into the future that those expectations and how technology will help meet them really kind of fall to you and on your shoulders?
Wow, there's like 5 questions in there, so let me unpack those.
Sure.
So when I look at it, I think 5 years from now, the expectations are that we know that guest and really give them personalized experience. We meet what they want, not what we do. So let me give you an example. Maybe they don't want cleaning at 3. They're leaving the room at 10. So how can they customize the experience to exactly what they want? And we should be able to know that. So I think it's a blend of really artificial intelligence. It's a blend potentially of facial recognition. It's a blend of that physical and digital with their experience that's highly personalized, that meets their needs, not just the way I send you your bill at 4 in the morning and you pay, or I clean at 3 in the afternoon. It's based around how they want to interact with the hotel. So I think that's where it goes. From an experience, from a confidence in cleaning, sanitation right now, which is huge, right? I think as we all have, Samir and at Hyatt and at Wyndham have sent out that information. Here's how everybody does things. I think for us, what we try to outline is we're owner-operators. We actually manage it. We own the properties. We have complete control. So by having that control over how everything gets done in the property, we can guarantee that cleaning. We've got the training. We've got the inspections. We've got the certifications in play. So I think that's how we tackle that issue.
So one last question for you all, and I think a fun question. Your favorite vacation destination, hotel to stay, or just, let the place. I know some of you would rather stay in a Hyatt than a Wyndham than a Loews, and some of us in an Equinox. I get it. But just maybe, what was your favorite hotel destination? And, not necessarily why, but just real quick, off the cuff, favorite place. Dan, start with you.
4 Seasons in Hong Kong was phenomenal. Just the culture, the experience, the food, one of my favorites.
Awesome. Sounds fantastic. I look forward to going there someday. Scott?
New Zealand, Queenstown, the Hotel Rees, right on the lake, right there. Boutique hotel, looks over everything, and understated but anticipatory service.
Oh, man. I wish I was in New Zealand already. Lawson?
I'm going to go with Prague. Yes, very much love Prague. Different architecture, the whole bit.
And Samir?
Bora Bora for me. That's where my honeymoon was, and it's a beautiful open water bungalow. I mean, amazing.
I agree. That was a good time, man. Well, I look forward to the time we can all travel far and wide and countries actually allow U.S. citizens in, because we've kicked this thing and we've moved on to the next thing. But unfortunately, probably not going to happen today. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining. Really appreciate you all taking the time to share your perspectives and to share a little bit more about what you're working on. And I'll look forward to staying in each of your hotels soon. And we'll talk to you again soon enough.